It is I, Tube. Yes, indeed, it is you, Tube. Hello. Welcome to another live streaming of Learning Haskell. Last week, I was working on refactoring. No, not refactoring, getting a test to pass. I had a failing test for some functionality that I hadn't implemented, and then I implemented it and the test passed, which is pretty great. So plan for today is to do some refactoring to kind of clean up a little bit of the code that was there before. I want to add the same functionality to the listing endpoint as well. Yeah, I just generally clean up the code a little bit and try and leave it in a nice state. And then the plan for following weeks is to try and do something a little bit new. So maybe write sort of a command line client to access this API. Yeah, probably that. I also want to look at writing a Slack bot for this, but I think maybe a command line client would be a better place to start. Okay, cool. So I need to clean the screen up a bit. Cool. So I need to move my tube out of the way, obviously. This is the test that we worked on last week. So this is when there's a booking for the current time, then the status should be booked. When there's a booking but not the current time, the status should be available. And when there are no bookings, it's also available as well. Okay. Slightly different styles there, but it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to run the test, make sure it still works. Yep, that's cool. Something seems to have changed actually since last week. I'm now getting this debug output. I'm not sure why that suddenly appeared. Maybe it was our last week I didn't notice. But anyway, the tests are still passing, so that's good. It suggests everything is set up properly. So to implement this, we call this get status. With status. And with status is getting the current time. Then it's looking up all the bookings for that particular environment in that time range. So I jump to here. We're passing in the time, and it's looking for something that started in the past and ends in the future. So we're getting that, and then we're just returning this new environment status where we fill in the information we were given, so environment ID and name, and also the status based on this booking, where the status is available as nothing and then booked otherwise. I've got this code actually hanging around, which I'm going to get rid of because I was trying to make this code a bit better, so I didn't have to say case something of and do that. So I had another look at this during the week actually, and I still couldn't get it to work because I thought maybe I could do something like call with status of ID and not E this time. So we don't really have E, but we can map that over N, and then we can get something back. So something like N with status. This doesn't work, right? Because I can't call with status. When I'm calling with status, it needs to be under this appm environment status. I'm calling it with something of type ID, and then this thing, and this thing is a bit weird. This is it says this is type maybe, and it expects. I think this is type maybe. Is M type maybe? Yeah, it's maybe environment, and it expects to be running under reader T application @config M. Basically, I think that's what the issue is. So that didn't work. And that doesn't work either. And you could maybe like a from maybe. I'm not sure what you'd pass in at that point. I think the problem is that we have a maybe here and we don't have a maybe here. And I could change it, but it doesn't really make sense to get the status of nothing. Although actually that might not be the worst idea, actually, because then it'll be easier to map over later. Because this is a bit clunky and a little bit hard to compose because I have to use a case statement. Out of curiosity, I'm going to see if this works. Oops. This is a maybe dev environment. And we will return an append maybe environment with status. Doesn't like the brackets. Everything goes red so quickly. And then we can just say with status I have nothing is pure nothing. And then we could say something of just E is pure of just of that. And then up here, could I just say with status ID env. Do you know, for the addition of a passing the maybe in this extra clause, it does look a lot shorter. And here I could just say with status ID env from SQL. Ooh, didn't mean to do that. From SQL key of ID. I think that's a bit nicer actually. I'm going to stick with that. Assuming the test still passes. The reason I'm interested in sticking with that is because I have this thing coming up. I'm able to map over something. Well, this might be tricky because I might not have the. Oh, I'll see if I've done it wrong in a second. I might not have maybes at this point. Let's see what happens. Okay. So list environment. Let's go back to the spec for a second. So we got something for post environments, we got something for availability when we're getting. So let's look at back to this level, I guess. Look at listing and availability. So this is a get environment. There. And we could say maybe we can just have a couple of test cases where we have something that's booked and something that's not, and we just check that the status comes back. So maybe we could say get environments. I cannot type. Returns availability with the environment. Okay, so in here, we need to take the port this time as well. And what we'll do is we'll actually create a couple of environments. We'll say create an environment. Maybe we'll say create a booked environment. So we just create it, and we'll call this M1, something like that. And we'll destructure it so we get this back. Yeah, I think we want to do that because we want to get the M by D out. And then we'll create another environment which will be available. We need to do the bookings right in the first one as well. So we'll do a booking which is not any of these. It's this one which is for the current time. Okay, so down to my test, I can say create a booking for this first environment. So this should be M1 ID. Is that not a valid name? What's going on here? I mean, oh, sorry, I'm using what's the name of the extension? Like named pun field or something like that. So it would automatically match the name of the field inside the record and also assign it to a variable of that name. That's it, okay. But I couldn't do that. Okay, so we got environments. We have got booking on that environment in one ID. So we will then get M2 and we will say M by D is equal to, I don't even know if I need to store these IDs. We'll find out in a second. And that's equal to M2 result. Okay, and now we can say something like list result. And we will run client M again. This time with list environments. Oh, have I got that? Somewhere up here I'm creating the clients. I've lost it. Here. Nope, I'm not setting it up, so we'll need to set that one up. List environments. This is very long. Can we break it over multiple lines? No. I had that before, breaking a let over multiple lines. I'll just leave it for now. Okay. So now we should call list environments, and it doesn't take any arguments. And we call it on client M and import, I think it is. Yep. Okay, so we have our listed environments back. And now we want to check that one of them is booked and one of them is available. I mean, we could say booked env, booked env, booked env. Wow, hard to type for some reason. So booked env is going to be, we're going to find some predicate in list result. And we could say something like booked env should be, and then what's it going to be? It's going to be just something. just entity environment status this is complicated. Really, n by d, it doesn't do unification, does it? So my attempt to do this wouldn't really make any sense. We're going to ditch the entity anyway. That's part of what's going to come back. So yeah, it can't match any of these things. This needs to be a proper function. So it's going to take an x. I don't know what order they come back in. Maybe I could set the order as well, actually, but at the moment I don't know what the order is. So we'll just say, what's this called now? This is end status of x equals boot. Cool. Okay, so yeah, my return type is wrong, so a lot of this won't compile at all. End status. So the env name, I'm going to rename this as well to be available env. I can maybe just let it explode if it's nothing, doesn't find it, so we can get rid of this. Right, and then we can say instead of booked env, we could say something like env ID of booked env should be env1 ID env1 ID. Okay, cool. And then we can do the same thing for the available one. Okay, so here we could say available env is find it where it's available, and available env should be env2 ID. Okay, I think apart from this type error, that test should be okay. So the first thing we need to do is change the return type from this endpoint to be a list of env with statuses rather than be a list of entity environments. So let's do this in the API to start with. So up here, this is the endpoint, and it's not a list of entity environment, it's a list of environment with status. Okay. And then we should get some more errors because we don't satisfy that. So environment list environments has got the wrong type. And it now needs to return a list of environment with status. Okay. Now that doesn't work, obviously. So you can say something like ems is that, and then we want to turn it into a list environment with statuses. How do you do that? So this is where I think about this wrong actually. So I was thinking I could call mapenv env with status. But it doesn't take it takes two arguments. It takes the ID and the environment as separate things. So this is an entity environment. I can get the ID out of it, but this doesn't take an entity environment because this is not returning an entity environment. I could change it again to take an entity environment. I can get rid of the maybes as well. I just thinking now I could maybe write a helper function, which is something like with status maybe. Probably not the best name. But it'll have the same signature as I got below. So we'll take the int64. Take int64 and the maybe environment, and the append maybe environment status. And we can say with status maybe of anything and nothing. Anything and nothing. If the environment is nothing, I haven't found one, there's going to be pure nothing. Oops, not use, but pure nothing. And then we can say with status maybe of I and E is, oh, sorry, I'm going to destructure this a little bit, so we can say with just E is pure just, and then with status I and E. Okay, and then I'll just fix that up to not have the maybes going on again. So get rid of the just in there. I'll get rid of that line. Ah, that one gets a little more complicated. Okay. How does this work? So this is the problem. I'm trying to get the just inside this type. So with status returns something of type append environment with status, and I want to turn it into an append maybe environment with status. So I want to try and smuggle the just in, like we have this thing, I need to smuggle it into here. I don't think I can just lift that into there. I mean, the compiler will let me know, I suppose. I wouldn't have thought that works. Oh no, again there. Just get rid of pure for a second. Wow, so I can lift just into, because this is a reader type, so I can lift the just into the reader and it applies it to the return type. Cool, okay, that's kind of cool. So we can, this one can be made with status maybe. And this can be with status maybe. Okay, and now there's a problem where we can't map this because it says it applies to too few arguments. So I can apply to m's, but then it's going to break down because m with status does not expect. Oh, that's not a limited function anyway. With status, better. So the type of with status ends up being int64, to DB environment to whatever else, and that's not what we want. We want to partially apply. Well, it's going to take something out of env and pass it in to this with status as the first argument, and it's just not going to work. So we could maybe write a helper again called entity with status. Not wild about these names, but we could then say entity with status. So the type of this is going to be, going to take a list of entity envs, sorry, entity environments. That's db.environment, I think is where it comes from. Okay, it'll take that and it will return something that runs under rpm, returning a list of environment status. Okay, so entity with status of ease. No, it takes a single one, sorry, because we're calling map up here. It will be passed one at a time, so it's just an E. And then we should be able to call with status. And now it expects, again, this also returns a single status. We should be able to call with status, and then we need to get the key out of E. So it's something like from SQL key. I can't remember what the helper was. I don't think it was just that, because that's just converting it's converting something of type key into int64 in this case. And E is not a key, right? It's the wrong argument type. Somewhere down here I'll be able to find it. Or maybe not. I can't find it yet. I'll find it in a second when I give it another argument. And then the other part is the entity part. Maybe I can destructure it. Can you say entity K and E? Okay, that doesn't work either. This needs one of their instance, so give it that. Or confirm it's got that. Okay, that did work. Interesting. Okay. We have two type errors left, or two errors left down here. Let's jump and see what they are. Okay, couldn't match type list of environment status with single environment status. That's interesting. So list result is of type. I haven't done the right destructuring thing. Okay, so we can say let all environments, but we will destructure along the way. So we can say something like let write just, no, it's not a maybe in there. Should be write all environments equal list results. And then here we can say all environments. Nope, don't do that. Let's go to the end of that, grab it. Is it Shift N? Yes. Okay, you say all environments. Okay, we got no type errors. I'll run the test. Okay, it's kind of interesting. So I wrote a test, but to get the test to compile, I ended up having to fix the code. So the implementation was much more type-driven than test-driven, which is kind of interesting. But I'm still glad the test is there. Let me make sure it works. I'll do something stupid here. So swap them around. And then this test should now fail. So a bit of red flash by there. Yeah, so it fails on some number, which is good, I guess, but it's the right test. And then if I don't create the booking, no. Let's try it again. Try to remember the shortcut for commenting out the line of code. That one. Okay. Once again, it should still fail because this should just explode because it shouldn't match anything. Yep, pattern match fail. So this just thing does not work. Okay, cool. So I have a test that I'm reasonably confident is working. And I have an implementation that was driven by the fixing the types. I just noticed before I run the test, actually, we can be clever about this, or we can make it less readable. I don't know. We can make ourselves look more intelligent. By doing that, I did the wrong bit. Oh, good job I'm not streaming this. Okay, we can get all environments, and then we can just shove into mapm. I think that'll work. I'll rerun the test to make sure it still works. Okay, and then can we write this like this? I've thrown away the explicit typing there, but it doesn't really matter. That's the work. That's cool. Okay. Just out of curiosity, can I do the same thing here? So we get the environment. And then we chuck that into, I think chuck that into is the official name, official pronunciation for calling this. Okay, well that's kind of cool. And then create is going to be more difficult because there are two different things we need to do. It's a bit more difficult because we're trying to carry ID forward. Like we have it here, it needs to be carried into here, and then it needs to be carried into here as well. And that would be a bit tricky to write as a one-liner. But there we go. That's an implementation of getting the status and sticking it onto the environment. Just make sure everything still works. Cool. Okay. I'm just going to commit what we have at the moment. What's in there? The test database. That's cool. This is all the changes. Okay, so implement availability when looking up environments. Or maybe not looking up, like when returning. Not really implement, but maybe add availability. It's good enough. I would write a much better commit message if I was really working on it, but for this little project, it's fine. Okay. What next? I've got about half an hour left. So I could either play with Tube some more, or I could keep refactoring stuff. So one thing that's bothering me a little bit, one thing that's bothering me a little bit is we have this layout of, we got the app in here, which is fine, and under source we have the API and application and so on. But then we have a folder called booking, which is also got booking under it. So the type of this is booking.booking. And this, or the types, the name of this module is environment. What I'm wondering is, can I move this at one level? So can I have like source booking and source environment and also have booking.db? And I'm pretty sure the answer to that is yes. I'm also pretty sure it's going to upset the language server, but we can give it a go. But I'm pretty sure I import stuff like data.list, and there's also data.list. I don't know, lazy or whatever underneath it. So I think there should be no problem with moving this. Can I drag it? Yeah. Okay, now everything's going to be broken. So if I go to, give that for a second, well, we can fix these up first of all. And we'll have a look in booking. And we'll just rename this. Oh, there's a thing I can click. Look at that. Amazing. Let me look at the cabal file quickly before it gets too upset. So we don't expose booking.booking, we just expose booking. And the same thing there. Let's see. Okay. The application does not pull it in directly, but the API does. What am I doing? Control P. Yep. Okay. That's annoying. Let me qualify as M. So I'm pulling in environment says new environment, so I can refer to them unqualified, and then I pull in everything else qualified. I'm kind of confused as to why that's not an error down here, unless something else is broken. Maybe it's because these are also broken. Qualified booking. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so now all these are set. We can rename to env. Although I had another thought actually. Can I just get rid of that? Because I don't think we use that anymore. It's always going to return environment status. Yes, we can. I think we can. Yeah, and that makes life easier. Okay, cool. And then in main, no, we're not pulling that in. That's cool. Okay, just show me the errors then. The errors are in files that don't exist anymore. I think this is a lie. I just close them then. Server spec is the other one. Okay. Again, so we just need to do this and that. Okay, and then the two errors we have left are files that don't exist, that I can't close because they aren't real. I don't know what's up with it. No idea how to get rid of that error. So import qualified booking, just import booking. No, I don't think that is the case. So import qualified booking is the same as import qualified booking as booking. Right. Oh gosh. I've got two things called booking. That's booking. God, that's what a mess. If I said import booking, that would make all of these exported functions and symbols, or functions and types, sorry, it'd make them all available without qualification, and that's not what I want. So I'd be able to write just booking here rather than booking.booking. But I don't want to do that. I want it qualified, so you'd always have to write booking.booking. The only time I don't want to write that, apparently, is new booking. Well, let's clean that up. That's okay. This one I don't like. I wonder where that was used. It was not used anywhere. Okay, so that clash was a bit weird. I hope that answers the question about import qualified booking is just import booking. That's not the case, I don't think. Okay, still got this. Oh, let me run the tests. Does stuff compile and run? That's a good test, isn't it? Cool. It's quite nice having tests, actually. I quite like being able to change things and check stuff till it works. Okay, we still have this DAO thing. Are we using it anywhere? Because I'd quite like to kill it. 3 selected. No. Okay, so it's only mentioned here. Okay, so what is in the DAO? What's left in here? I guess one way to find out is to delete it. But maybe the better way is to search for it. There's no jump to symbol. No. Okay, I need to dig out Cabal. Booking uses it. Right, so the stuff that's in here should be moved into booking. Let's do that first and then we'll get rid of the module. So where are we using the DAO? It will not jump. There we go. Okay, I've got this get status code that I can get rid of. In fact, all this stuff can go. The old code. Was that all the instances of DAO? Was it just in common to that code? Yep. Okay. So now search for DAO is just exposed and then the module exists. So, whoops. Let's take a look at Cabal file again. Oh, and not this first one. Okay. No, you can do that. Okay, let me go back to DAO and we can say delete. Move it to the trash. Okay, and I have 3 errors, but it's probably 3 files that don't exist anymore. They're not real problems. This might be an issue with HLS actually. It could be that as I'm closing files, it's not noticing that I'm closing them. Okay, running again. Make sure the test will pass. Yep. Okay, good stuff. So, what we do here, we did 2 things because we're naughty, so let's, oh, it's going to be a mess to commit these separately, so I'm just going to do them together. Okay, so we, oops, tidy up the modules, and we move booking and environment up to the top level. And the other thing we did was deleted DAO. It's not used anymore. Okay, push upstream. Okay, what's next? API. I'd like to move this into environment API and move this into booking API. I don't know if it's possible or not, but I'd like to do it. And then I'd like to say that this is the API we get out of environment and the API we get out of booking joined together. So interesting because they're all type level things. So can I say environment slash API.hs? Oh, just wait for a second, it'll tell me. There we go. Pop that in, and then we can say, not there, up here, we'll just export API. Okay. So now we need all the language extensions. And then we need to pull out from servant. Oh, I don't want to pull in from, let's just pull in from servant. Use explicit namespaces to enable. Okay, why not? Oh, do you know what? Let's make life easier. Okay, type operators. Environment status, we can import from environment. New environment. Maybe we can import from Relut. And in 64 from data int. Okay. I'm not going to have explicit imports for servant because it's just too much. Okay, so given this exists, I'm going to go back to Cabal. A comes before D, so let's make it vaguely alphabetical. Environment API. And that'll cause this to restart, HLS to restart. While it's going, oh, I've got capital API and lowercase API. Isn't that good? The answer is not good. Right, first thing I'm going to do is rename this. It's not a clever rename, I just did it by matching the string. that's probably going to cause me some issues. So if I go to main, oh, actually, oh no, it's in the spec, isn't it? Yeah, okay. I think that's enough. No, it's not enough. Almost there. Okay, I hope that's it. So now what I'm hoping I can do is I can say environment API.API is not a nice name. How qualify environment API as a environment API? Let's go for it. Okay, I'm not overly impressed with my naming, but there we go. I don't think I can get rid of that. Oh, not quite. We're getting closer. I can get rid of new environment. I need to do something about this. I guess I can move it into the API. Maybe, let's see. No, because it was a type of app. An app, I think I set up in here, didn't I? Yeah, it's supposed to be app handler. Okay, forget that. Ooh, that was all gone wrong. That seems to have created some kind of nested or like compound root here. Sorry, some compound. Or maybe not. It's definitely done something wrong. So what's type of my API now? Oh, we don't know at this point. I wish this box was bigger. It does look like it's nesting these things, I think. Maybe it's not though. No, it looks fine. Like it's like environment, list environments, environment, create environment, get environment error, or bookings, list bookings, or booking, create booking. So that actually seems okay. Let's go back to something that works. Okay. So what I did before was environment API dot API, and then do that. Yeah, now it gets all upset. Okay. So it couldn't match this. With server T API app. But more specifically, it's like it couldn't match all of this within 64 new booking. I mean, the problem seems to be when we get down to the booking. Seems to be, but maybe it's not. Maybe this is more complicated than I thought. I kind of thought I could pull in the routes here, the routing here, and then maybe I could also pull in the handlers here, so that this global API is really just composing together sub APIs. But that doesn't seem to work. I'm not really sure why, to be honest. So API 2. Is equal to that. Oops. And then can I do some kind of, I'll call this API 1. So API 1, and then can I not just use this? I can't because I can't type it, but if I could type it, where's the pipe? Is it there? Yeah. Sorry, it's wrong. So type API is equal to API 1 or API 2, and then this doesn't match. If I make this API 1 and I get rid of that, it does work. Okay, it's just join them together. What's the type of this? The type of this is start. That's not super useful. This is a servant cookbook, I guess, or servant documentation perhaps. Structuring APIs. The first part of factoring API is having factor out combinators that comes to several endpoints. I mean, that looks very much like what I was trying to do, so I'm kind of confused as to why it didn't work. Because you've got factoring API or simple, right? And a factoring API is equivalent to just writing out the two different routes. So it feels like what I'm doing here. Or if I'd make it close to their thing, we could say factoring API or API 1 in our case. And then the two different routes for the booking. But that doesn't work. Whereas I inline it, which is all it should be doing, right? These two things should be equivalent. It does work. So I'm a bit confused here. Is it generally wrong? I guess that's one question. So I can run the test, see if the compiler works. And it's going to fail the same thing, right? Yeah. Expect type server T API app. Now this gets really confusing. So append m0 is server T, I think. We got server T somewhere. Server T API app. So, where's the error? Can't find anything now. Okay, expect to have a server T API app. I presume app M0 is server T, but I could be wrong. English for server, yeah, that's what we're looking at. I find that really strange. When it was some kind of type inference thing, but I don't. The trouble is these are all types, so I don't know how I tell it what the type of this type is or what the type of this type is. So that's a bit confusing. So if I put it back to being the way it was, just going to jump to our example. Where's our simple API? And it's not a version thing, is it? Does it say when it was last updated? No, it's last year, so it's not the latest version of Servant. What have we got on here? I'm missing things. So data kinds, derived generic type operators. Unkind signatures. Don't think I need these, but I'll stick them in anyway. And I can complain if they're not necessary. Oh, one of them hung around. Okay. So then can we say API 1 is, oops. API 1 is that. Why is it gone funny? My keyboard gone French. Oh my god. I hit some combination to switch my keyboard to French. Okay. Type API is API 1 or those things. Nope, still got that, so it's not the language extension. Okay. Let me just get rid of all those changes. What was that? Yeah, let me get rid of those. Okay, put it back to where it was. See if the test will run. Okay, that's good enough for me. I don't know how to split up this API. It's not very big, it's not in the world, but it'd be nice to work that out sometime. But I'm going to stop for now because we've been going for an hour or so. Yeah, next week I'll take a look at writing a command line client, I think, to list and manage bookings. So basically like the curl thing that I was doing before, but in a nice friendly command line app. And we can do stuff like work out how to write an application, work out how to get input or maybe subcommands or something like that. Maybe use subcommands, but I don't know. I'll have a look at it next week. But just something basic so we can list and create and manipulate environments and bookings on them. Cool, so that should be good. Thank you for watching along and hopefully see you again next week. Goodbye.